right, so today was our press day. Started off, as I do every single press day, with just a basic standing overhead press. I like the strict press. Today was an eights day, so again, I'm using my 852 protocol. Felt really good today, despite the weight loss. Body weight's down to 201, so I'm continuing to lose, continuing to eat in a deficit, which makes presses hard. But I really like the this 852 protocol just because, like today, doing the eights after doing the doubles last time that I pressed, it always just feels really easy to go back to that lighter weight. So even though eights can be kind of tough relative to the twos, the weight always feels light in your hands when you come back to them. So it's a benefit of the program. So started with that, got all 3 sets, pretty easy, no issues getting any of my presses today. And then moved on from there to my supplemental exercise. So I've been doing behind the neck presses for the last couple weeks. Changed it up a little bit today and did the seated dumbbell press. And you'll notice on these that I like to keep them nice and strict, keep an upright torso. I get a full range of motion here. Not too worried about going super heavy. I like to keep these in like the 8 to 10, 8 to 12 range. I take them really deep. You'll notice that I kind of angle the dumbbells in a little bit as I bring them down. It just allows for a little bit of extra range of motion at the bottom. So I always I don't worry too much about the weight. Again, it's more about range of motion and really feeling it in the shoulder. So the heavy work is reserved for the barbell. 3 sets here, descending sets on everything to keep the reps up. And then, so just pretty standard stuff. And then from there, moved on to 3 sets of side delt raises. Pretty basic, just 3 sets of 10 today, followed by a drop set. Pretty much always do a drop set when I do these, just because, again, it's not really, you can't really go too heavy on these. It's not about the weight. It's just about pumping a bunch of blood into the muscle. I try to get all 3 sets done really, really quick. It just allows for a few minutes of rest for the triceps before I move on to my heavy compound tricep movement. All right, guys, so we are in the middle of our press workout today. Just got done with doing all of our overhead and shoulder assistance work, and now we're fixing to move to triceps. So started the day off with 3 work sets on the overhead press, 3 work sets of 8 reps. Whatever my main workload is for that day for the press, I'll follow that up with a supplemental press movement. A lot of times that's just more presses. I've said before, as I said in my how to build a bigger press video, the press likes volume. So sometimes my supplemental work consists of just a bunch of back off sets. So I might do as many as like 6 or 7 sets. Or what I've been doing the last couple workouts is I'll do 3 main sets of the press, and then I'll do 3 back off sets, but I'll go behind the neck. Again, I don't recommend that to everybody. Not everybody's shoulders are comfortable going behind the neck. So my shoulders are very flexible, so I'm able to do it. I don't have any pain. But I typically don't do it every single time, just kind of as a precaution, because I know it can lead to shoulder problems. So I kind of give myself a preemptive break from those before it actually ever starts to get aggravated. So if I'm not doing the behind the neck or I'm not doing the back off, then sometimes I'll do the dumbbell seated press, which is what I did today. That's a great exercise to follow up your overhead work with. A lot of guys use it in place of the barbell press. I don't think that's a good idea. Dumbbell work is always a better supplemental movement than barbell movements. So seated overhead press was 3 sets of I think like 8 to 12 reps. Today, I generally do descending sets, which means I'll start off with maybe 1 warm-up set just to kind of get the feel. I didn't do a warm-up set today. I just went straight to my heaviest set, and I'll knock that out, and then I'll take short rest periods for between my next 2 sets, but I'll lower the weight each time. So typically on dumbbell work, if I go hard, unless I take really long rest periods, I have a hard time holding a rep range. So if I want to stay in a certain range, say like 8 to 12, I generally do descending sets where I lower the weight just a little bit between each set. But again, I'm not taking very long rest periods, so that's the reasoning behind that. So you'll also notice when I did this exercise today, the reason I like to do it seated rather than standing, they're both good exercises, but I like to do it seated just because it keeps me more strict, it keeps my torso more vertical, it keeps me from wanting to lean back. I already do that a lot on the standard overhead barbell press. So on this, I'm trying to keep a much more vertical torso, and I'm trying to keep my elbows flared out to the side so I can press straight overhead. So it's a little bit different range of motion on the delts than what you would do in the barbell. So I like to keep that differentiated. So I generally use a seated press on these just to keep me more upright and help me keep my elbows flared out more to the side. You'll also see in the video, I take my dumbbell presses deep. I don't believe in partial range of motion. You see that all the time. Guys go super heavy on the dumbbells. You know, they get the 110s or 120s or whatever, and they lower down to the top of their ears and back up. If you want to go really heavy, if you want to push lower rep ranges, the better solution is to use a barbell. It's a much better tool than a dumbbell for very heavy work. Dumbbell movements are not lifts, they are exercises. Generally use them to develop the muscle, not just to move weight. Whereas a lot of your barbell exercises, we consider them more lifts and not necessarily exercises. We're not thinking about a target muscle group. We're thinking about moving the weight from point A to point B with the correct technique. And the right muscle groups are going to do the work. But when we do dumbbell work, machines, that sort of thing, the focus needs to be on developing the muscle mass, and generally that's going to entail a very full range of motion, especially with using dumbbells. So take them down deep, get a good stretch at the bottom, and really get into the delts, and they'll pay off. So anyways, that was our shoulder work. We did some side delts right after that, just to give the triceps a rest and push a little bit more blood into the shoulders. Going on to triceps next, we're going to go to floor presses first. We already got them warmed up, so we're going to go right into our first work set. Floor presses are going to be our heavy kind of tricep movement today. And then we're going to do a couple of like isolation type tricep movements after that. So we'll see. All right, let's go. Moved on to the floor press. And that was, I've been doing close grip benches for the last couple weeks. So I like to do some sort of kind of bench press variation on this day, just to kind of bump up the frequency on the bench press training. So floor presses I typically do these with kind of a medium grip. I don't like to do a wide grip because, again, I'm focusing on the triceps. You got to be a little careful with these. I always wear wrist wraps just to keep some compression on the wrist. Again, you're kind of jamming your forearm and your wrist down in between the floor and a heavy barbell, so you want to protect the wrists a little bit. And that's also why I like that medium grip, because it doesn't put any kind of angle at the wrist at all. It keeps a nice vertical forearm. So find a grip for you that produces a nice vertical forearm. I wasn't real happy with my performance on the floor press today. I'm about 17 pounds lighter than the last time that I did these. I didn't lose any reps, but I didn't gain any. Wasn't able to go up today. Just didn't feel real strong on these today. Descending sets is what I did on these. Didn't take a lot of rest time, just 3 quick sets. Everything was in the 5 to 7 range. I was hoping to get a little bit more reps out of each of these sets, but kind of wasn't in the cards today. All right, guys, I'm going to show you a little bit different way to think about doing dips. This is if you want to add a little resistance to your basic dip, and you want to do it in a way that focuses a little bit more on the tricep. Typically what you'll see is, and I do these a lot, is just using a weighted dip belt and hanging some kind of weight from there, whether it's a dumbbell or a plate or a kettlebell, something like that. But another way to do it is to use a mini band. So right here I've got just a regular red mini band, and then I've got a monster mini band here, which is a little bit thicker. And one of the ways that you can do these, I'm going to demonstrate with the monster mini band. It's a little bit more resistance, and you just got to have a secure base to put it on your dip stand. So mine's pretty easy because my dip stand's pretty light and portable. So what I do, I just kind of tip it forward here. I'm going to loop this around the base. You want to really make sure that it's secure at the bottom, because you don't want this thing coming up and popping you. Okay, so make sure that it's even and secure. Okay, so now that it's linked there on the bottom, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this around the back of my neck, and then I'm going to get up on the dip stand and I'm going to do dips. And focus on your tricep a little bit more, because as you get closer to lockout, when you get to the top, obviously the resistance on the band increases, so it gets a little bit harder actually as you get to the top, whereas on the with the weighted belt, most of the resistance is at the bottom. So that way is excellent for building chest, shoulders, and also triceps, but this way just puts a little bit more emphasis on the triceps. So we're going to see how many we can get here with the Monster Mini. Normally I would do these weighted, with a dip belt and like a kettlebell or something hung off of the dip belt. But today I just used I did the first set with the monster minis around my neck, and then the second set with just a regular mini band, and then I did the third set with just my body weight. But I got 3 sets of dips, all 8 to 10 reps, and then from there went on to my kind of isolation movement for the day, which was 3 sets of an overhead tricep extension. Sometimes I do these with an easy curl bar. Sometimes I do them single arm with dumbbells. Today I just did single arm with dumbbell. 3 sets. I think I did them with the 25-pound dumbbell. You'll see on the video when I do these, I keep them really strict. And again, I use a very full range of motion. I try to keep my elbow pointed up. I don't let the upper arm, I don't like to let it angle out to the side. That'll take stress off of the long head of the tricep. So you want to keep that elbow pointed up, and you want to keep kind of a stretch on the long head of the tricep. And then you want to take it down deep behind your head if you can. You want to feel that long head of the tricep stretch at the bottom, and then you want to feel it contract at the top. You'll notice if you watch my non-working hand, I've got it kind of across my face, and I've got a couple of fingertips on the long head of my tricep. And that's just kind of a tactile cue to myself of the area that I'm trying to work. Pretty quick workout, 6 movements. I tried to move through it as fast as I could, and felt pretty good. That's shoulders and triceps for today. And then coming at you tomorrow, probably film another back workout. So we'll try to get that up as soon as possible.